Sean Astin and Corey Feldman. Coming up to the stage for you. Thanks, guys. How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Chris. Yeah, Chris. Nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey everybody! What's up, NostaligaCon? Anaheim! Disneyland! Woo-hoo! Except the only problem is, where's Key? Where's Key? Why isn't he here? This was a surprise. We didn't know we were gonna do this.
I knew you were here.
Well, I didn't know I was going to be here, so I'm glad you did. You got to use the mic; they won't be able to hear you. Everybody. But anyway, they didn't know. We didn't know if we were going to be here because I'm leaving to Taiwan in the morning, and we had to like change the whole schedule to make sure that I could be here for today. So, and I think
I'm glad you're here.
But remember, Key, I'm glad you're here. But I know Key. We told him about it, but
I don't know. I don't think he was. He's in Canada or something.
Is he?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
No, not Canada. It's like Canada.
Like Canada? Norway?
It's Chicago. It's Chicago.
Wait, what?
It's right on the other side of the lake. It's not that crazy.
Okay.
Okay. You get a
Sean
speedboat,
is really good at politics. Maybe not so good at location.
Geography. Listen. If you fly from Edmonton, never mind.
All right.
But we shared a flight from Toronto. We had a stopover in Chicago, and then he went to see his brother.
Oh, so he's on family time.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. So, I said last time this was going to be the last Goonie reunion for the year, and then we surprised ourselves by seeing each other, and now we're both here. So look at that. It's kind of an almost reunion because Key's not here, and we're missing a few.
You know why he's saying all this?
Why?
The three of us were at like 3 or 4 conventions this year.
Like 6.
Like 6 conventions this year. So we basically got to answer the is there going to be a sequel question. By the end of it,
a few times.
we're in sync. Does anybody want to hear an answer to that question?
Because if you don't know the answer, all you have to do is Google Goonies sequel, and there will be about 3,000 news articles that have all come up in the last few weeks.
Because of you.
No, because of you. Yes. No. Well,
there is no news. The news is there is no news.
Yes, that's the
Everybody
big news.
wants it. Like there's a lot of things. I know that Carrie always was. Did you guys see his tweet last week? You saw it, even if you don't remember, you saw it. He said there's a shortage of perfect movies in the world. It would be a shame to damage this one. Yeah. Which is the wonderful quote from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
So,
they're talking about remaking that one too, aren't they?
Right. Well, now I don't think they're talking about it anymore because he made that tweet and it went galactic. So, but and I understand with that movie, I feel the same way. Like,
I feel that way with Goonies, though.
I'm the opposite. I think Goonies should be remade. Or
no. Wait, who wants to see a rebranding of Goonies? No. Who wants to see a sequel of Goonies?
Who can explain the difference? No, I mean, to me, the Goonies, the idea, basically Goonies has been remade. It's called Stranger Things.
Yeah, well, and he, of course, was part of it, so there you go, right?
Wow, I'm trying to think of who I would have been.
Well,
if there's a corollary from that.
You would have been the main kid, right? The main kid.
Well, no, I mean, now at 48 years old.
Well, now you're Bob.
But Bob. So who was in Goonies that would have been like that?
That would have ended up being Bob.
Were there any adults in Goonies besides the Fratellis?
No, there was the mom.
Sheriff.
Your mom.
Yeah, mom, sheriff.
My dad. I think for 30 seconds or something. My grandmother for 30 seconds.
Right.
Chunk's
father. I would have been Chunk's father.
Oh wow.
No, I don't know. I just think that I always wanted to see Goonies be an like a Saturday morning cartoon. Wouldn't that have been
They were
awesome?
working on that for a while.
They were?
Yeah, they had actual animation made up. Donner was going to put it on Cartoon Network, and then it fell through.
And then Dick Donner wanted to make a
Broadway show,
Broadway musical out of it.
That fell through.
Yeah, but he was like,
and he had various ideas for sequels. They all fell through. We haven't had a good startup because here's the problem. when you've got a movie like Goonies, and you've got Steven Spielberg, who's this brilliant creative mind, and you've got Richard Donner, who's a brilliant creative mind, and you've got Christopher Columbus, who's a brilliant creative mind, and then you've got a studio who owns the rights, and you've got all four parties must agree on, like, this is the only worthy sequel we've ever found. And they can't all agree on that. Maybe 3 of them like it, the 4th one doesn't. Maybe 2 of them like one, 2 of them don't. So the point is, until they can all agree, it doesn't happen, right? Would you agree with that?
I think Steven is Caesar.
Yes.
I think he can give the ultimate thumbs up or thumbs down. And I think getting momentum.
But then back in when Warner Brothers didn't want to do it for a while, there was that phase too with the whole, I won't bring it up, but there was politics. Let's just say politics.
For my money, I don't think you can ever ruin the original, because the original is so of its time and place and tone. And
that's my point. So why would you want to rebrand it?
Well, but the idea of Goonies, the idea of kids on an adventure, every generation has. There's another generation. Like right now, Stranger Things is doing it. So
right.
I feel like.
So they don't need us. They don't need to rebrand and ruin our movie. They've got their own movie they can rebrand.
Where did the pirate
and you know
ship
what?
go?
Now we've just spent another half hour talking about it, so now we've got another whole news cycle, and it's your fault this time.
Sorry.
All right. Does anybody want to ask any questions, or are we just going to ramble?
No, this is cool. I mean, they came to hear you guys. So I do have a question, though. I heard, and you guys obviously can tell us if this is true, but when you did the scene in Goonies with the pirate ship, was that the first time that you saw that set as you came in? Was that your natural reaction, or had you seen it before?
The coolest thing about this question is that the answer isn't, oh, it was green screen.
True.
They actually had stage 16, which is about half the size of this hall. And the roof is 3 times as tall. And they filled up the entire stage with water. And they built, that half of the pirate ship that you can see. So the idea was they had kept it a secret from us. I don't think I had seen the full version of it. I might have caught a glimpse of an early, as it was just going up. I tell people that the best acting I did in the movie was acting as though it was the first time I saw it. So, like if you know what your Christmas present is, but you don't want your parents to be upset, so you oh my gosh, this is great! I saw it in your closet 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, same here. So I saw it accidentally as well. I was driving by on my bicycle on a Saturday, and generally on Saturdays they didn't have as many employees on the lot, so security wasn't as heavy, and they kind of goofed up and they left the giant studio door open and the curtain, because there was a black curtain they would keep, closed, and they had it open for some reason, and me and my cousin Michael, who would visit me sometimes, I'd give him a bike to use, and we'd go riding around the back lot and all that kind of stuff. And so one day we're like driving by, and we're like, oh, there's the ship, whoops. So I felt like instant Jewish guilt. And then exactly the same thing when I came down that chute. I was like, you better act your ass off, you better make it look like you've never seen this before. Okay, go. Yeah, what are those?
It's funny, they made us go backwards down the little ramp into the water with the pirate ship behind us. Like blindfolded or whatever. Not
blindfolded, but they wanted our backs to the camera so that we would all turn around and then get the expression. That's correct.
So, weird.
Yeah, so bottom line is, we didn't, in Donner's mind, we didn't see it till that very moment. And it wasn't until we did the 20-year reunion where we finally did whatever it's called, pop-up screen, narration thing on video, where we're all seated at the table together.
Commentary, the DVD.
Yeah, and Donner says, and none of the kids saw it. And Sean goes, yes, we did. And he's like, what are you talking about? You're just like, no. And I said, I saw it too.
The funny thing about kid actors is they're brilliant. Kids are amazing. They're so talented. and have such capacity. So the idea of going like, well, we want to see your real reaction. It's like, okay, we'll go through that moment where it's a big hoopla to get our real reaction, and then we'll do it again.
And then you'll get
and
our
then you'll
real
get what
reaction.
you really want, right? Like when you're actually performing it. So the idea is that, to me, no amount of foreknowledge could overhype what you saw. It was an absolutely stunning piece of set.
Oh,
design,
absolutely.
production design.
And not you understand that it wasn't like, okay, there's the exterior of the ship and it's a real ship, but like inside it's all like empty, and then, you know, we've got the stages for the other levels of the ship. It wasn't like that at all. It was like when you got over to the ship and then you climbed onto the ship, each level of the ship had like skeletons and, you know, old cannons and cannonballs and gold everywhere. I mean, it was like a real full living ship of skeletons. It was so cool, so cool. Now, somebody over there had a question? Yes, sir. Yes, I'm talking about you. I can't hear you when you're reading off your phone. That's
Come on up
okay.
here. You want to use the microphone right here?
That's better. Verisimilitude, the appearance or semblance of truth. That was Richard Donner's watchword while making the first Superman movie. What you just said, what Sean said about the actual reactions from child actors, like you were talking about just now, that's conclusive evidence that Donner enforced that motto even for the Goonies too, and very much informed all of his movies. Don't you think so?
Yeah, well,
All the way up until Lethal Weapon 3.
when
I said all the way until Lethal Weapon 3.
What are you talking about?
Well, because I don't think that he was still imagining that idea over and over by the time he did Lethal Weapon 3. It was the same formula as Lethal Weapon 2 and 1. That's all I'm saying.
It's the idea of a sequel being less than original, but some of the sequels are in the world are better. But when the two of us at one point went in to say, okay, like we're tired of everyone saying like, what about Goonies 2 and it not happening? So what about this idea? And we worked on an idea and we pitched it to him and we loved it. We thought it was a great idea. And at the end of it, he said what you just said. He's like, what works about Goonies, because ours was high concept, and what he said was you really believed that this could have happened, and so any sequel for him, the key has to be, does it feel like it could really happen? Yeah.
We were like, of course it could, as much as Star Wars or, you know, anything else, right? Like, if you can believe a man can fly, they certainly could have a CIA operation going on where there's a little treasure chest. But we don't want to talk about the sequel we almost wrote or anything.
I think we should go make it with an iPhone.
Because now, you know, there's going to be another news cycle. They're going to say, go, Corey reveals the secret to their hidden storyline. And there you go. Maybe we create it as like a mini series for like the Warner Brothers online content website. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome.
Right?
Sure.
Okay. Cycle that in your news clips. Anyway, thanks. All right. Any more questions, folks?
This good-looking guy here. I want to play the Price is Right theme.
Ding, 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 ding.
So I think
ding,
the
ding.
argument
Sorry,
on-
that's Jeopardy.
I think the argument on what the difference between reboot and sequel, I think the Karate Kid is a good example of this. Like
Yeah.
the Jackie Chan one, whether you loved it or hated it, was very different. But then you have Cobra Kai, which is you're seeing the next generation. So you
Correct.
have the old characters and then the new characters that you want to
Correct.
introduce. So.
And Cobra Kai is closer to an actual sequel than the Jackie Chan one. Correct.
Yeah, so that's just my commentary.
And there's plenty, and you know what? Tonight we could go and we could watch Karate Kid, the original, and enjoy it. And that 90 minutes is just as potent as whether if they didn't do those.
Hey, isn't Ralph Macchio here somewhere? Come on, this is an 80s thing, right? He's got to be here. He can answer those questions,
To
surely.
me, I travel all over the world for the last 20 years doing conventions, and the amount of tattoos and shirts.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And
People love the Goonies all over the world.
They love Goonies so
Goonies never say
much.
die.
So
There you go.
in my mind, you give the audience what it wants, and if you don't like it, then watch it. Watch the original. More is more. I think, for my money.
Let me ask you guys a question about, you mentioned earlier, Corey, you mentioned about the creative genius of Spielberg and Donner and Columbus. And so as kids, you're going to work with Spielberg and you've seen E.T. or Jaws or Close Encounters of the Third Kind. What was that like the first time that you're sitting in a room with him and you realize this is really going to happen? I'm going to be working with Steven Spielberg and Richard Donner.
Well, I think Sean's got the better answer for that question, but I will tell you my experience, which was that I actually was on the set of Close Encounters, and I was supposed to be the kid in E.T., and that was like a whole different trip, because I ended up doing Gremlins as a result that they changed the script. It happened that way, it really did. They changed the script. I had the part in E.T. I met with Spielberg in his office, and he had a little Raiders of the Lost Ark poster up and a Jaws poster, because those were like his biggest accomplishments at that time. And we went over.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, exactly. And we went over to the set. Oh wait, Close Encounters, right? Yeah, that one was there too. And anyway, so he's like, here, I want to show you something. We walk across the lot over to the set of Poltergeist, and there's this room that's being turned upside down, and there's Toby Hooper, and he's sitting behind the monitor, and he's like, watch this is a great effect. It makes it look like they're getting sucked out the window. And all of a sudden they turn the entire set upside down, and I'm like, this is who I'm gonna be working with? Holy crap. Like a little bit on the innovative side. So because of that, I ended up getting the job in Gremlins when they rewrote E.T. over the summer and cut my part out. So that was my story. And then after he liked what I did in Gremlins, he then said, hey, do you want to do an adventure movie like Indiana Jones for kids? You've got the part already, don't worry about it, because I'm directing and it's cool. And then he decided not to direct it, and Richard Donner came over, and then I had to audition for Steven, which was really weird. But anyway, Sean's story, completely the opposite side of the spectrum. I'll let you take it.
I know. I listened to your story, and it's like, I don't know. It's like you're some old Hollywood hand, and they're trying. Are you going to star in this movie for Warner Brothers? Or are you going to do that one for Universal and whatever? You were like 10, right? You were like 11, 11 years old.
11 years old at the time.
Yeah, I was definitely at the other end of the spectrum where I hadn't done anything before, and I went into the audition, and Steven Spielberg was in. It was Harvey Bernhard, who's one of the producers, and Richard Donner and Steven Spielberg behind this desk. And it was a really big desk, the kind of intimidating, if you wanted to shake their hand, you'd have to reach way over to kind of whatever. And during the audition, I messed up. And I was a hyper 13-year-old kid. And I go, shit! And Steven gets up and walks out. I was like, uh-oh, I don't think I'm ever going to work again. So I was very, very, very aware when I went into Amblin, his production studio, of these posters that were on the wall. Actually, I think there was one of C-3PO, of R2-D2 handing a crown of box office champion to E.T., placing the crown on E.T. So that was
that would have been C-3PO.
No, I think it was
R2-D2 doesn't have a hand.
Yeah, in this particular thing, he might have. He might have had a hand on it. But anyhow, I definitely remember walking through and being as, it was this Spanish tile on the floor and the
game room. They had a little
room,
game room with arcade games. That
it
was
just
dope.
looked like, when you're a billionaire, you make things look like this. It was the first time I ever had that experience, and I was like, I want to be a billionaire but I would never have the taste to know that these are the kind of couches you would have. That's the kind of stuff that was going through my head.
So far? How's that going so far?
The billionaire?
Yeah.
Well,
Working on it.
We're
Working on it.
inching along. We're inching along.
Yeah, me too. We're both inching along.
We have a question from another 80s icon, actually.
Hello.
80s icon herself.
First of all, thank you, gentlemen,
Thank
for
you.
giving us so much iconic. Sean, Corey, I am Grimlina from the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Gremlin Rock!
Nice. Thank you very much. I do.
And
do
my
that.
husband joyfully calls me his little hobbit.
Very nice.
So you people have touched my lives in ways you will never understand.
Aw.
And I and the Glow Girls would like to thank you for being a part of the most iconic decade
so much.
ever!
God bless. Thank you.
It's so beautiful.
And thank you for being a part of that iconic decade. And the rest of the Glow Girls, of course. Can you believe that she could have kicked our ass back in the day?
She get kicked my ass right now.
That's right. Look at that.
I'm fangirling right now.
The only gremlin left alive in Gremlins 2 was the female gremlin!
Female gremlin, ladies and gentlemen. Look at her go. Don't let her multiply.
You think we have? There were other wrestlers associated with the Goonies.
Were there?
Sure.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, well, of course, in the real world, but there was Glow. Glow was a female
No,
wrestler.
I know. I'm just thinking,
But
like, I'm
there-
trying to figure out if I can get close to them in my world and their
Well,
world.
in your world, we had the real legendary first, wrestlers of the WWE, from the Sheik into
Andre the Giant.
Roddy
Piper,
Piper.
yeah.
Andre the Giant. I mean, these were the classic legends of wrestling.
I'm trying to
history.
earn my way into a conversation with her. Is
You
all I'm
own
saying.
it, bro. You own it. Come on. You're in the video. It's your movie, for Christ's sakes. All right.
So you
Man in the
mentioned-
green. Man in the green. Come on up. Come on up. There's a mic. We've got technology on our side.
I was just curious, how many times have you guys gone back to Astoria, Oregon, and do you have any fond memories from filming in the city?
8.
8?
I've been back 8 times.
Have you really?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So that's magnificent. What?
There was one time I went back. There's a whole kind of sub narrative or just narrative about the house and what it was like, how it was chosen, and when we filmed there, and then what happened to it between the time when the movie came out, and then
Blew it up, and now there's little pieces of the balcony being sold on the internet. You've signed some of them, haven't you?
many.
Yeah, I have signed a
But
few
first I inspect
myself.
it. They sawed up a lot of the deck, and so they'll sell it to people, and so you're like, this doesn't look like a real. Is this really the deck? I don't know. Can you tell if that's part of the deck? But there's
think it
been
is.
people out that would. The different owners of the house have a different relationship to the public. So one of the owners, this woman, she would open the house up for people to get married in. People who wanted to have a Goonies themed
Yeah,
wedding.
she let them take tours, and she was really nice about it.
I remember going with a congressman from Portland, and we went to a fundraiser out there, and we went up the driveway, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're here!" I'm like, "Yeah, how's it going? That's awesome. Haven't been here, since we made the movie." And oh, okay, there's a wedding going on inside. Oh my gosh, really? Do you want to witness it? Like, do you want to be the official? The efficient.
Did you do it?
Bride? Of course.
Yeah.
And the
Can't pass up that
the really cool
request.
the cool thing about it was very moving. It was a very moving thing, the ceremony, and they kind of opened up the little living room area, and for the first minute, I was the star of the wedding.
Which is weird, right?
But the second minute, it didn't matter that I was there.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I'm an ordained minister, and I've actually ministered 5-6 weddings. Yeah, that's true
In the
story.
house?
No, not in that house, but just I did one in my backyard. I did one in somebody else's backyard. I've done them at a different. We did one at the Santa Monica Pier where my wife DJ'd the wedding party and I was the minister. We get weird requests all the time, but hey, I do bar mitzvahs, holiday. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
That's how the billionaire thing is going to come about, man. I'm
Hey,
telling
you
you.
never know, man. You
But
never know.
then there became a time, I think, after the 25th anniversary when there was you did a concert, we went there, and then people were not as respectful of the house.
Yes,
they would leave
that's true.
cigarettes and beer bottles, and they would show up late at night. And
People were telling us that, we don't get any sleep because these people will literally park up and down the street, and they'll come up in gangs of people, and they'll start you. And if they can't get in or they can't get up onto the property, then they start throwing stuff, and like they were being very foul.
So she ended up putting these big, ugly blue tarps over the house, so that people couldn't, you couldn't enjoy it for what it was. And that went on for a while. I wrote a whole essay, a kind of,
leave the poor lady alone.
Yeah, like if you know the whole point of the Goonies is about saving our home. That's
Right.
That's the point of getting the treasure. You get the treasure not just because you want to buy a yacht. You get a treasure so that you can make it so your family can keep your house.
Right.
And if you're gonna go to see the movie because you like it and crap on the house, you're not really a Goonie.
There you go.
So,
there
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Boom.
So but then I think she ultimately sold it, and I don't know if it's a museum yet. It should be a museum.
No, what happened was she sold it because she sold it to somebody who doesn't want to be bothered with the fans, and they basically took advantage of selling off the balcony pieces and all that stuff, and now they're put a big hamper on the whole thing. They don't want to be part of the tour. The tour can only stop at the bottom of the street. You can take pictures down there, but you can't even come up the street anymore. So a guy took it basically because he was a fan and then decided to shut it all down.
Not a good one.
So I have a question for you guys.
That's what I've heard.
But we like it there. It's
That girl's been raising-
Astoria, Oregon is being revitalized.
She's been raising for quite a while. Go
It's
ahead,
really,
young lady.
Okay.
it's an amazing little community that's thriving.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Love you guys. Will you guys be joining us for the 35th? Along with Matt?
Will we be joining you for the 35th?
In Astoria.
Are you the mayor of Astoria?
No, I'm not. But I can be.
I would vote for you.
Yeah.
When you
What's
say
your
we,
platform?
Who do you mean we?
Us and so many
Fans? Are you a fan?
Big fan.
So as a fan, you have
As a
planned to
fan,
go there for
yes, I was there for the 30th, and I have some friends that've been there for.
Were you there
every
for the
other one.
25th?
I wasn't there, but I have my.
Is he right what he's saying about the house now?
No, you're
He's wrong. I know he's wrong.
Sandy is still the owner.
Oh,
Oh,
she
really?
is?
Still the owner.
Is it still
were
shut
told
down
she
to the
sold
public,
it.
or do they?
It still is.
It is still shut down. All right, so you're right about that.
But we were told that she sold it to.
No, not yet.
Really?
Not yet, yes.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. And they are selling the pieces.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
But they don't let
maybe-
people off the street anymore.
My
right?
attitude about going to these events. First of all, it's incredible that people love it so much that you're gonna
Yes.
have
And
a.
actually, I haven't had a chance to go every year, but I have a couple of friends, which is she's right there. She goes every year.
So for
Andrew.
the anniversary, will they open it up for tourists?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We don't know because I know for the 30th.
Well,
we're
since
able
you're
to do
well
it.
informed and you seem to keep up, can you guys please inform the community so that they know what's going on? Because we don't want to, we don't want to invade Sandy's privacy.
Yes, please don't.
Right? And so it's very important, just like the Area 51 thing, okay? They told you not to rush Area 51 because it could be dangerous for your lives. Don't rush the Goonies house because it could offend the poor lady who's lived there who tries to keep her privacy, right? Okay.
My
Yeah.
feeling about celebrations of the Goonies in Astoria is I really want Warner Brothers to participate. I want Warner Brothers to
Pay
orchestrate-
us?
Well, maybe, but also to honor. I mean, the merchandising. I don't even know what they make for merchandising over the last 35 years, but it's not it's not an insubstantial sum. But and to know
They got slot machines, for God's sakes. Slot machines.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yep,
Bing, bing,
that's
bing.
right. And our
So
faces
I
come
just
up.
I think that it would be great if Warner Brothers decided to put together a formal event and bring people in and make it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, wouldn't that be?
They're going to do it for the 50th when we all come in with canes. And we'll be like, hey, remember back when we were kids?
The
That's a
Goonies.
lovely, lovely movie that one
There was a
was.
scene cut out of the film. We filmed right over there in that drugstore.
There was this guy named Spielberg. I swear he was a real man.
It would be lovely to be with you and the fans.
But I hope so. Jeff is always there.
Jeff is always
He's
there.
always there.
He's always there.
He's always there.
What do you mean he's always there?
He's always there.
Was he?
He was there.
I believe it.
Yes.
He's a lawyer. What's he got to do with the house?
He loves to celebrate.
He does? That's beautiful. I'm glad to hear that.
So I hope you guys make it.
That's nice to hear. Well, very good. So now Jeff's the Super Goonie.
What I'm trying to think of is other movies, like some of the movies we have guests here, if they have similar type fandom where they want to go and actually try and make real.
Well, I mean, I think the Firehouse in New York or whatever probably is very busy because of Ghostbusters, you know what I mean? And things like that. Like, you know, those landmark kind of locations that people can actually find that haven't been torn down in 30 years. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty, it's a good question.
All right.
Hi guys, so
Hello.
I'm Liza with NostaligaCon. We have an answer or a question coming in from online. People want to know, is there a piece of memorabilia from the house or just from the set itself, whether it was a script or something that either of you will confess to taking or wish you would have taken?
I took a lot of stuff.
I took a lot of stuff too, but unfortunately, mine's all been stolen, or I, was conned into selling it off because I was an 11-year-old kid and didn't understand the value of these things. So they was like, $50 for your costume and your bike, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great deal. Where else am I going to get $50 for this stuff? Yeah,
You do?
well, I don't have the stuff anymore. Trust me.
I made friends with a guy named Joe Maddalena who has an auction house, a movie memorabilia auction house called Profiles in History. And they, they'll sell DeLoreans and they'll sell. He's told me what some of the map and the, some of the doubloons and the inhaler and a lot of the other stuff, like and the costumes, what they would sell for, and it's a lot more than $50. Is all I'm saying. In the movie memorabilia
I kind
world.
of figured that.
Oh wait, what did you take? What do you still have?
Yeah, what do
Tell you.
Yeah, because then you're gonna go rob his house. He doesn't
I have
want
the
a bunch
map
of-
and the inhaler, and I don't know where the map is.
Damn it!
I know.
I think you might have burned it up one night when you were using it as a. No, I'm just joking. No, he doesn't know. I'm just joking. But he's a family man. He really is. But the truth of the matter is, I have the A from Andy's sweater. And don't ask me how I got it, but I have the freaking green A from the orange sweater that Troy gives her, and it's sitting on my mantelpiece with a bunch of other memorabilia stuff. So that's the one physical, and I think I might have a couple doubloons, the gold doubloons, but they're in boxes somewhere.
I still have the Skull and Bones.
Oh, well, that's kind of a big deal.
Still have the
That's kind of a big deal because they've only made 9,000 replicas of it, and the original one is only worth a few bucks, I would think.
Well, the Joe Maddalena, I brought a replica and I brought the original. I said, "Can you tell the difference?" And he could.
Of course he could. That's
It's
his
the
word.
real one's made out of lead or something.
Yeah,
It's really
exactly.
heavy.
Of course.
Yeah.
All he has to do is go, yeah, thanks.
So I've got that. If you need it.
If you need it. We'll talk later. I know people, and you do too.
Hi guys, thank you so much for coming. I want to ask you about the chemistry that you all had in the movie.
It's gone. We hate each other now. You can tell, right?
Yeah, it was something that Richard Donner worked with you in rehearsals, in pre-production, or something like that. It came out naturally. You were working together.
If you buy 7 puppies and you put them in a pen, you get the credit for creating the chemistry of the puppies. That's basically what it was.
We're trained puppies, is what he's trying to say.
Their whole thing was to just let us
Let us
just
go.
be,
When you throw a bunch of kids together, it's naturally going to turn into something. You know what I mean? It's just the way kids are.
He didn't engineer things. You know what I mean? They weren't trying to force you to do this or do that. They found it endlessly entertaining to watch us all talk at the same time. When I saw the movie the first time, I'm like, you can't understand what we're saying. We're all talking at the same time. They're like, isn't that great? I'm like, I guess so.
Well, yeah, but now when it goes on for 4 hours, like the original cut of the movie was 4 hours of shit. Wait, rich stuff. You know, it'd be like that. So they had to we did the longest ADR session in the history of movie making.
ADR is additional dialogue recording, where you go and you re-record
We
words.
fix the parts where you can't hear what's going on, right? So we were in there, no joke, set up camp for 6 weeks 6 weeks every day going in to fix the audio on parts.
Usually you do a whole movie in, you know,
A week.
4 hours. Okay, a week if it's like, if you're in every scene.
Yeah. So this was 6 weeks.
It was fun.
I mean, it was like an additional movie. Like, you know, some movies shoot in 6 weeks. We did ADR for 6 weeks. That shows you a Spielberg project versus a regular project, right?
I kept looking at them like, do they know it's taking too long?
This is called over budget, right? Right? Okay, you don't care? All right, just making sure.
Well, it's another one of those things where, like, it was the kids. They budgeted that amount of time because it's kids doing it.
That's right.
But we were all like professionals.
Right.
So we knew what we were doing. So it was like, well, we can do it again.
Hey, you know what?
Just keep doing it.
Sean and I literally will love talking for hours to each other. We like just talk and talk and talk. But I think there's other people that need to use this stage. So my guess is we should probably wrap it up, right? No. Oh my God. They want more. What do you think?
I think we should keep going.
Oh,
I'm a huge Goonies fan myself, so.
All right, as long as you guys are entertained, we'll keep talking.
I do have a question for you, though.
Okay.
Corey, you mentioned earlier about Stranger Things, and so as somebody who had my 10 to 19, from 10 to 19, a decade of the 80s was my formative years. So I'm a big 80s kid. I was in the grocery store a couple weeks ago with a buddy and his girlfriend. The girl who was working the register, I had a Breakfast Club shirt on. She said, I love that movie. It's my favorite movie. My friends love it. She's 15 years old.
Wow.
So my question to you is, what do you guys think it is about the 80s that the further away we get from it, the stronger it's getting? It just keeps getting stronger and stronger.
I'll give you mine, Sean can give you his. Mine is basically this. It's nothing special about the 80s. It's just what happens from generation to generation. When I was in the 80s and I was a kid, we thought the 60s was the coolest thing ever. We're like, oh my God, I wish I was alive in the 60s. That was my generation, man. I could really relate to it. And we all dressed up like hippies. And then like a few years later, everybody started wearing bell bottoms again. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Because it cycles. It cycles. That's my theory. But go ahead, John, if you have a different one.
Well, I don't disagree with that. That, you know, each generation finds, all of a sudden Elvis comes into vogue and everybody wants to, I know that the Beatles, Abbey Road has just celebrated its 50th anniversary and it's so awesome to think about the Beatles. I think what's cool about the 80s is people who were, it's kind of we have YouTube now. Anybody can be a movie director, movie producer, and have a global audience. That's right. Anybody can do that because it's accessible. I think like the means of production and distribution was getting accessible enough to people who weren't who had like new ideas, different kind of clothes, different kind of music, different kind all those kinds of things. That sort of stuff was making it into the movies now in the 80s. I also just think, if you look at like the Renaissance, if you look at like, some of the great Renaissance painters, there's just moments on Earth when creativity just surges. I mean, the 80s is the Raiders of the Lost Ark and Back to the Future and
60s, 70s, 80s. Every one of them had like a massive growth in art.
Well, I think the 80s and if you watch, it's kind of the Me Too, the Me Too, not Me Too, the Me generation. This is the Me Too generation. That was the Me generation.
Right.
Where, the 60s was weird. It was the time
Which was the Pepsi generation?
Just before that.
Okay.
Well, no, the Pepsi generation is the Me generation.
Is it?
I think so, right?
I thought that was Generation Next.
Oh, good Lord.
What
I know is
up
like
with all these slogans.
if you think about the Vietnam War and then you think about the 70s and you think about like there's something that happened by the time you got to the 80s. I think things had reset a little bit. You're allowed to have an imagination about things that weren't as important as life and death, like the Vietnam War.
And you could use a lot of Aquanet.
You could use Aquanet. Yeah.
Did anybody here use Aquanet in the 80s? Come on, show of hands. I know you did. And you know what? It smelled terrible. It smelled terrible then, and it smells terrible now. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, I read a book called Easy Riders, Raging Bulls that talked about how the 70s were the auteur filmmaking time. It was the time where Coppola and
Oh, it's Jim Poorman. Look at that. Jim Poorman, ladies
There's
and
my
gentlemen.
buddy Corey Feldman, you guys.
Hey, this guy ran K-Rock back in the day. I don't know if you remember, but in the 80s, like, he ruled him and Richard Blade, right? You were like the guys.
That's
at
right.
K-Rock.
And you were on Loveline giving shitty love advice so many times.
Yeah, because I had to make a lot of mistakes before I learned how to have a proper marriage. But, you know, I had to get my heart broken once or twice or 18 times before I finally figured it
But
out.
he's saying you didn't have to take everybody in the listening audience down with you.
That's right. And not only that, I also didn't wear that outfit when I was giving the advice.
Hey, Sean, Corey used to come up. I used to have both Corys up there. You and Corey Haim together so many times. You guys got into so much trouble.
Corey Haim, ladies and gentlemen, R.I.P. R.I.P. Movie coming out soon. Movie coming soon.
Dude, I just wanted to say hi to you. I'm sorry to crash your press conference.
We love it. Are you kidding? There's nothing more totally awesome in 80s than being interfered with by the poor man himself. Hello.
How many of you guys remember K-Rock in the 80s out there, huh?
You remember that voice, right? You remember that voice?
For free!
That was him. He started that crap.
Do you know I have both you guys, I have an FM radio show in Orange County now on KOCI, Monday through Friday. It's called Poor Man's Morning Rush. Listen
Love
to me. Ruthless plugging here, 101.5 FM. You guys should all call in, request songs. I would love it if you guys came on as guests.
Only if you play my songs.
I'll play your songs for
cool.
sure.
I'll be there.
Now I gotta write songs.
Hey, are you?
No, you can plug your new movie, man. It's all good.
Hey, Corey, are you married now, or what's?
I am married. There's my beautiful wife right there on the end.
Oh, hi,
Courtney, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, I'm going to let you guys get back to your press conference, but I had to come and say hi to you.
Well, stop calling it a press conference.
Yes, this is a communion of the people, right? That's what it is.
You know, you guys look good, by the way. I look like I've aged, of course.
Dude, look at your weight. Are you kidding me? You can fit in that tight little outfit and not be ashamed of it? God bless you.
Did you see this 80s outfit I'm wearing, too?
Yeah, but dude, I'm saying, like, look, you got no belly, and you're, like, older than me, so you should be commended.
It actually belongs to my girlfriend right there who's taking the video. It's her outfit. It's a Steven Sprouse, Keith Haring, one of these sort of rocker suits from back then.
I could never tell based on her choice of fashion that she would be related with you, because how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Rainbows, man. It's all rainbows. Peace and love.
Yeah, peace and love.
There you go.
All right. You guys, these guys are the legends. Give them a round of applause here, huh?
Poor man, ladies and gentlemen, from K-Rock. Yeah.
We had another question from the audience, if you guys don't mind.
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight trying to figure out what it was about the 80s that made the movie so great.
Guys, thank you so much for coming
And
out.
it's Stephen King is here. Hello, good to see you. No, I'm just joking.
I get that a lot, actually.
I bet you do.
You know, you were a huge part of my childhood, and then when my son was 5, I showed him Goonies. Instant fan, he loves it.
Thank you.
So, do you have any idea what the makeup with Sloth? That take forever or what? And then the first time you saw Sloth, were you guys scared, or were you like, it's a guy in the suit?
I was scared of how bad the makeup was the first time I saw Sloth, but it got better as things went on.
Yeah, I mean, it was really bad. It was really bad. It was a little bit like, oh no, that doesn't. And you had to feel bad for John Matusak, who was wearing it, because I don't know if he could even see very well out of it. But
how many disappointed faces did he have to look
exactly.
at?
Like,
oh no, oh that's not going to work at all. You know?
But they were committed to getting it right, and they had those little servos in the ears and in the eyes, little eye would go up and down. But he was in there for hours and hours and hours. I mean, like it was. Do you know the numbers, like 4 or 5 hours?
I think he had like a cutoff at like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So like they would put it on, it would take 2 hours, it'd take 2 hours to get off, so you had about 4 hours to shoot every day, I think was the deal.
He's a lovely guy, though. It wasn't
Very
scary
nice
to be
guy.
around him. He was one of these like teddy bear guys who wanted to give you a hug all the time. So it was good.
Well, that was if he didn't step on you by accident.
I think we got to wrap up.
Wait,
There's
this
one
girl
more
right here.
question back
Wait,
here.
oh, there you go.
With
In the corner.
the Back to the Future hat.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dum dum dum, dum 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 dum, dum 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 dum. Sorry.
Can you just do theme music for me all the time?
Can I? Yes, I'll just give you whatever theme song you want. Go for it. Oh wait, go for it. That's a good song. No, I'm just joking.
So my question is, if you guys could play any other character in the Goonies, who would you play and why?
Well, that's an interesting one. I don't think we've ever been asked that. But if we had, I would say, I think I got chosen to play the exact right guy. And I would say he got chosen to play the guy,
Yeah.
but, you know.
I got to kiss the girl.
Right. I wanted to do that. I was up for that part, but then they were like, no, this is more, you're right
So
for this.
Brand also got to kiss the girl. So if I had to pick somebody else, it'd be
Stop
Brand.
rubbing it in! Stop rubbing it in! You both got to kiss the same girl. That's the point.
I'm just saying, if I had to choose somebody else, I'd choose the one who also got to kiss her.
Right. And I still would have chosen one of you guys because you got to kiss Carrie Green. That's the point.
Willie. No.
What? Willie?
When he was dead, that's why it's funny.
Oh, you got to kiss one-eyed Willie?
Well, I did have an emotional scene with him.
That's true. It was very intimate.
It was.
It was just the two
I looked
of you.
longingly into his eye.
Donner was like, okay, I want this to be a nice moment between the two of you. And you're like, it's a dead person. How am I supposed to? All right. That's a kid's imagination. All right.
Well, everybody put your hands together one
Thank
more
you very
time
much,
for
everybody.
Astin and Corey Feldman.